Hello, everyone, and welcome to the distinguished alumni, their families and guests, foundation trustees, teachers, and the administrators who make everything possible here. The scholarship, and most importantly, the scholarship recipients, who tonight is what it's all about. You will begin traveling your path to the future. My name is Dan Argenis, and I'm in the class of 70 and a current foundation board trustee. I have the distinct honor and pleasure of introducing one of our 2026 distinguished alumni, Mr. Jeff Iula. And Jeff, this is the last time I'll call you Mr. He is a shining example of how hard work, perseverance, and following your dream can help you all finish your journey to success, no matter the challenges put in front of you. Jeff was born in Indianapolis and moved to Cuyahoga Falls at a very young age of 2, where his family lived for 61 years. He attended first grade at Preston Elementary School the first day that school was opened on September 3rd, 1958. After elementary school, Jeff was a proud Sill Eagle, and where he had perfect attendance, was on the newspaper staff, member of the student council, played intramural basketball and football. All the while, he had a very focused dream, which is important to all of you tonight. He wanted to race in the American Soapbox Derby, where his dad, Ralph, was the Derby director. So in the summer of '66, his dream came true as Jeff was picked to race in the 29th Derby as a substitute for the Okinawa entrant, where he participated in all the events. Jeff didn't win his first race, but little did he know his future career was being shaped by him taking place in that Derby. In '67, he attended Cuyahoga Falls High School and immediately became JV basketball coach and manager, and eventually the varsity manager. He was honored to play actually in a single game. While Jeff was at high school, he managed a tennis team, was a homeroom representative, homecoming crowner sub, and had perfect attendance. All the while, he kept focused on his goal to work for the Soapbox Derby. In the early 1970s, he was working full-time and attending the University of Akron. Jeff always had his Derby career in path, and when Chevrolet was running the Derby, he decided to continue his college education, taking marketing and PR classes so that he could go to work in his dream job. Finally, in early '75, he was hired to work at the Derby part-time. Then in the fall of '75, when a new sponsor came on, they immediately hired Jeff full-time. Now his career goal was happening, and he became a Derby executive. Excuse me, a paper got stuck. Jeff was first appointed to the assistant general manager and then continued with the Derby as the general manager. For the next 35 years, Jeff and his staff have continued to build the amazing legacy of the American Soapbox Derby, not only in Akron and in the United States, but as a world phenomenon. Athletes, TV stars, film stars, and political figures all became guests of the celebration, where these Derby kids built, designed, and raced their own cars. This yearly event now happens all around the globe, culminating in our city of Akron. Once again, Jeff has accomplished something far beyond his original goal. In 2011, he wrote and published a book on his Derby experience, The Derby and How I Saw It, so that the legacy he helped build could live on in print. Seniors, that's how you accomplish your goal, never giving up. And lucky for him, another goal. In 1990, Jeff found his lifetime partner, his wife Nancy, who supported his 60-hour work week and constant travel as he managed and grew the Derby. Little did Jeff realize that his notoriety with the Derby would give him a second career. He started his new career goal. How could he best serve the town that he loved, Cuyahoga Falls? In 2006, he was asked to serve on the Zoning Board of Appeals for Falls and decided to run for city council. In 2009, Jeff ran for council and won by over 500 votes. With his superior local knowledge and insight into what the Falls needed to grow and prosper, he was reelected and served the next 12 years until he retired in 2021. During this time, he served on the Schnee Elementary School Board as well as the Library Board. Every mayor and council person Jeff worked with stated his knowledge and extreme love for Cuyahoga Falls made him an invaluable asset, where he helped work on many projects. Both mayors Robarts and Walters valued Jeff's ability to read between the lines and help make decisions that made Falls great. Jeff also worked with his political party, helping with elections and other projects. And in 2025, Mayor Walters and the City Council honored Jeff with a street named in his honor at the corner of Broad Boulevard. As Jeff finally stepped down from active political life in the Cuyahoga Falls City Council, Jeff was always still very active and involved with the Soapbox Derby, acting as president of the Akron Local for 14 years and the Hall of Fame for the next 10 years. Now, at a young age of 74, he still consults with the Derby, is involved with his Falls class of 1970, selects city projects, and has fun with his family and grandkids. His entire life, Jeff has overcome obstacles that were put in his path, always keeping his goals firmly in front of him and never giving up. He's a true Cuyahoga Falls Distinguished Alumni. Now I'd like to introduce Mayor Robarts and Mayor Walters. They would like to come and say a few kind words about Jeff. They promised that it would be very nice. Mayor Robarts, would you like to begin?
Thanks so much, Dan. It's an honor and a privilege to be here tonight to pay homage to my dear friend, Mr. Derby, Jeff Iula. He is truly an honorable person in this community. His family, as was indicated, moved here when Jeff was very young. He was 3 or 4 years old, so that means he's been here about 70 years as a resident, off and on. As was indicated, he was part of the inaugural class in Preston Pioneers, I think they were. And as also was indicated, he became a manager of the basketball team when he got into the high school. If you look at Jeff now and you go to any sporting event that Falls is having, particularly football and basketball, you'll see Jeff there. He goes to just about everything. He's religious about being there, and he bleeds black and gold. As also was indicated, he has been active with the All-American Soapbox Derby since 1975. In 1989, he was appointed as the general manager, and as the book would point out, and I'll talk about that a little bit more, he bleeds black and gold. As was pointed out, he was appointed in '89, and he's the longest-serving general manager in the history of the Soapbox Derby. In 2006, he was elected to the Hall of Fame for the Soapbox Derby, and if you see Jeff driving down the street and look at the license plate, you'll see the words Mr. Derby on his car, and a lot of people around town refer to him as Mr. Derby. He had this book published in 2011. If anybody wants a copy, I suspect if you flag Jeff down, he can probably get you a copy. It's very interesting, has a lot of statistics and facts and figures and pictures, and I think everybody would enjoy a copy of that. As was also indicated, he was a city councilman for 12 years and is currently serving on the Planning Commission. Jeff also served at the Board of Elections for a while, and some might scratch their heads and say, how did he do all these things, being on the Board of Elections and being on City Council and following up on all activities with the Soapbox Derby and also writing a book? How did he have time to sleep? Well, he was also elected as the honorary chairman of the Bicentennial Committee in 2012. So you can see Jeff has been much loved throughout the community. So ladies and gentlemen, we are honoring tonight a very special guy, in my view. I refer to him as the Energizer Bunny of Cuyahoga Falls because he seems like he's everywhere all the time. He's a great guy. He probably knows more people in this city than anybody, and popularity is largely based on the fact that he has this outgoing personality, and everybody that comes in contact with him just loves him. So tonight, Mr. Derby, we congratulate you. It's a big honor. We're very proud of you, and we hope you're around for many, many, many years to help this community and this school system grow. Thank you very much.
Mayor Walters.
Well, thank you, everyone. So, Jeff Iula, Distinguished Alumni. Alumni, absolutely. Distinguished? Let's take a look. 12 years on City Council, as was mentioned, 7 years on the Schnee Learning Center Board of Directors, served on Charter Review Commission, currently serving on Planning Commission, 35 years as General Manager with the All-American Soapbox Derby, and still involved to this day. There were times Jeff says it was on the verge of collapse, and Jeff would not let that happen. Jeff is a true Cuyahoga Falls historian, knowing the in-depth history of Cuyahoga Falls, especially the schools, principals, teachers, and he can tell you every superintendent, mayor, and council person going back decades. He has what is probably the largest collection of Soapbox Derby memorabilia in the world, correct? Jeff is friendly and admired by everyone, and like me, we try and stay out of politics whenever possible. Speaking of which, he knew everyone at City Hall during Mayor Robart's tenure, and he stops in now and he knows everyone at City Hall now. He's liked by nearly everyone on both sides of the aisle, and in today's political climate, that's no small task. All of these things are remarkable and make Jeff very worthy of this award. However, there's a side of Jeff that I know that most of you here do not know. Now, he's getting nervous now. You see, the true character of a person is revealed by what they do behind the scenes, outside of the spotlight, things that are never in the paper or even on social media. I can explain, but first, I need everyone in the room, please raise your hand if you happen to know a gentleman named Kenny King. That's what I thought. Kenny is an icon, 81 years young, and gets around pretty good by walking, bus, or bicycle. But Kenny doesn't drive or take Uber, so he's locked out of a lot of places. And if you know Kenny, he's not a homebody and loves to be constantly around people. That's where Jeff comes in. When Kenny calls, Jeff picks up the phone, gives him rides, brings him food, whatever he needs. But there's a twist. Ironically, at 81 years old, Kenny likes to go out to the bars dancing on the weekends. Well, who's going to take him? Yes, there's Jeff, out late with Kenny, not for himself, but because the life Kenny needs is to be out with people. In fact, there were times that Jeff was recovering from major surgery, and he just sat in his car in the bar parking lot on a Friday or Saturday night so Kenny could go inside and have fun. Truly selfless. Oh, and every Sunday night for years, Kenny needs a strawberry milkshake. Guess who brings that to him? Again, Jeff. So I don't need to tell you the character of this man here. He does things that people don't even know about. So thank you for being a friend. Thank you for all you have done and continue to do for the city. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Iula.
Wish I graduated in 1986. I'll take 76. Okay, first off, can you all see me? You know, when you're only 57 and a quarter inches high, it's tough to see. That's what the doctor told me last week. And you know why 57 and a quarter? Because if I was only 57, I'd have to have a booster seat. But I got that quarter. So anyhow, let me try to give my speech anyhow. Wow, I mean, I'm just such an honor that my old high school, 56 years later, awarded me with this distinguished award. I sure didn't think so. I was in 50% of my class, the bottom 50%. But I knew everybody in the class, though, all 824 of them. And I was friends with almost every one of them. But anyhow, I'm just very honored that I even got nominated, let alone picked. And I'd really like to thank my two good friends, Dan Argenis and Chris Schroeder. Those two nominated me. Dan really did, and Chris went right along. They're two of my classmates. We graduated in 1970. We didn't have superstars in our class. We had a lot of very smart kids, but you know, we were a great class. We get together every month. We get on the fourth Thursday of the month. We get 25 to 30 people. And I mean, that's pretty good. That was 56 years ago. Last week I had it. 4 of my classmates from first grade showed up. First grade. Miss Boffman's been dead for 60 years. Thank God we're still around. But, anyhow, so let's see, trying to say, I looked through the list of all the distinguished alumni, and wow, there's like 140 or something, and a lot of great names, a lot of very well-known people. From the first one, Chuck Pilliott. I don't know if any of you even know Chuck Pilliott. He was president and CEO of Goodyear back when your dads all went, or your grandparents all went and worked at Goodyear and Firestone. He was quite the head honcho. But I'd like to recognize a couple of the people that are distinguished alumni, and because I know them. I went through the list today, and I knew about 50 of them out of the 140. That wasn't too bad. But I picked a couple, and I'd like to say that, and mention those. One's Tom Waldemeier, sitting right back here. I see him here. And my buddy Lee Dunn. Lee Dunn, I took over for at the Derby. He actually worked for the Derby and then went on and became a millionaire. He kind of he was president of a bank, but what the heck, I took for him. And my great friend Don Robart. And my principal, Bob Heath. Bob Heath is the only person that's been Citizen of the Year. He's had his name on Broad Boulevard, and he got this Distinguished Alumni Award. Good old Bob. And a lot of you had him at Preston or Richardson. You sure all knew him, He made it to like 90 years old. And another one was Randy Caldwell. He was a year ahead of me. He was my hero in high school. He lettered 9 times at Falls High School. And that was back when we only had 3 grades. We didn't have the 4, all 4 years. And good old Randy was quite the jock. He went to Kent State, played football there, and his roommate was a guy named Nick Saban. I think some of you have heard of him. He's won a national title or 2. But anyhow, and then another, Dr. Kyle Nelman. I never had any boys. I had 2 daughters, but I never had any boys. Kyle was like my boy, and he became a doctor now. And I'm very proud of him. I watched him play basketball. I watched him race in the Derby. Watched him do everything, and I'm very proud that Kyle got this award. And my good friend Don Walters here, the mayor, that he's my 7th one that I picked that got distinguished service. Don, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And anyhow, next page, as they say, I'd like to thank the Distinguished Alumni Committee and for picking me, which I was very surprised. I see you guys don't care about height in this group. That's good. Appreciate that. But anyhow, Kathy and Karen and Geraldine and Linda and all the rest of you guys. Some of you I just met tonight, but I hope to maybe be involved a little more after this. And I want to help out because I know a lot of people in this city, and I think I could help with the Alumni Association. And next, I'd like to recognize my family. Yeah, I'm from a small family. Nobody was over 5'6", but that was a joke, by the way. But anyhow, I'd like to recognize my 2 daughters back there, Carrie and Kelly. They both raced in the Derby. My dad wouldn't let me race, but I let both of them race, and one of them did pretty good, right, Carrie? Anyhow, Carrie and Kelly, and then my grandkids, Will and Zoe and Ava. Zoe won the Derby 3 times. She married Will, so now Will's my grandkid. And Ava's probably be on Carnegie Hall someday. She's already done 6 performances at the Weather Vane, and she's only 13 years old. So I'm very proud of her, too, that she's doing well. And, of course, I got way up in the corner sitting all by himself is my brother, Jay. Jay, when he worked at the Derby, he used to have a sign that said, Jay, no relation to Jeff. So I don't know if he's claiming me tonight or not, but he's sitting there at least. And last but sure not least is my lovely wife, Nancy. We've been married 36 years. She's had to put up with all this Derby stuff, all this Cuyahoga Falls stuff. She's gone to games with me and everything else, and she's been the last 36 Derbies in a row, too. And let alone last year when I had all my surgeries and everything, Nancy was really my savior, because I tell you, I couldn't have gone through what I did without her and all my friends. I was very lucky. I was in the hospital 63 days last year, by the way, and I had 80 friends come to see me because I wrote them all down. And the 2 mayors showed up 5 times each. Now, you guys get the mayors to show up 5 times each. And don't tell about your sewer problems and how you got chuckles either. Okay. Speech. And by the way, I would like to thank both mayors for giving a real nice speech talking about me, you know. That was very nice. And you know, we're very lucky in this city. We've had 2 mayors in 41 years. So it shows how well our city's doing. And look at this brand new place. It's gorgeous. It's better than the first, you know, than the old auditorium that we had, and we thought that was gorgeous. And, you know, the rest of the school's really nice. I've been to 3 football games already, and I went to every basketball game we had in the gym. We didn't win a lot of them, but I went to them. And I hope maybe next year we'll do a little better. But it was still neat to, you know, neat to go and watch it and everything. And very lucky. And I'd like to thank all my government friends, the councilmen. Like the mayor said, I got along with every one of them. I worked with 25 different councilmen in my 12 years there. And that was very nice. I didn't have any problem with any of them. 2 of them never talked to me, but I didn't have any problem with them. I think the 2 Dons know which 2 they were talking about. But it's okay. And, you know, that's how it goes. Well, anyhow, I'm going to tell you that, yes, I started at Preston the day it opened. There was only 3 grades that year, and they didn't even have a cafeteria. We had to go down to Sill to eat. I lost 10 pounds that year. You know, we didn't have a whole lot, but we were very lucky. And my good friend Ronnie Salmon sitting over there with the former mayor, and he was our custodian that year. And Ronnie turned 90 last November, and he and I have been friends for, Ronnie, 68 years, right? And I'm very proud that he came today to see me. And by the way, at Preston, the first year it was open, somebody broke into the school. They stole $6. Now, in 1958, $6 was a lot of money. You know, most people probably weren't making more than $1.50 an hour or something. They stole $6. So my buddy Ben Jones and I, we made potholders and sold them and gave it back to the school. And they got that. And that made the paper. Of course, it helps if your dad works at the paper, too. You know, but Beacon Journal, they had a picture of us in there. And then, so I was a good guy in first grade. Well, second grade, I wasn't quite as good. I'm not going to go through all the grades, I promise you. It's only 2 of them. But anyhow, in second grade, my buddy and I, we'd go out and put a little fire down in the woods there at Preston. Well, it was real hot that day, and I drank all the water out of the canteen. We couldn't put out the fire. They had 3 fire trucks come that day. It was a big 3-alarmer. It burned down half the woods at Preston, but that's where Sill ended up having their football field, and Sill could play games and beat Bolick every once in a while. Right, Chris? Not very often, but occasionally we did. And so I was into urban renewal long before anybody else was. That's for sure. You know? And then I started it at Sill. And I thought, yeah, Sill's kind of fun. But I'll tell you what, they initiated you there. You know, and when I say initiated, you guys that are more my age know what that's talking about. But anyhow, they tried putting lipstick on you. That's what they call initiate. And the first day of school, they tried catching all the little 7th graders. I ran so damn fast at home that day, they weren't going to catch my butt. And they didn't either. I made it. I didn't stop at the tree or anything. But I never missed a day. All 3 years at Sill, 540 days there, 180 a year. And you know why? There were 1,000 kids in that school. 500 of them were girls. I didn't want to miss any girls at Sill. So I never missed. So I was on, you know, the student council and homecoming or May Court or whatever and a few of those things. But it was fun. It wasn't easy going to Sill. Then you show up at the high school. Oh, you went to Sill. Oh, man. You think that was, hey, we weren't that bad over there. You know, we had some pretty good guys. I had a lot of very smart kids in my class. But we had a good time. And I went to Falls then. And Falls was great because I got to meet twice as many kids from Bolick. Bolick was twice as big. They were so big, for you people that don't know, is they had two different football teams, two sets of cheerleaders, two basketball teams. They were called the red and the white because they were just so big that they had to split it up and all. And that was neat. So I was lucky and got to meet a lot of people in high school. And like Dan said, that, I was on the basketball team. They let me play one game. I shot 8 times and missed all 8 shots. But it was all right. I had fun. The fans liked it out there. I was hot dogging a little bit. But it was still, still a great time at Sill. And then after Sill, of course, I went to the University of Akron. All I cared about, I was just trying to take some classes there, meet some people and everything. And I had this goal in mind that I knew what I wanted to do, and I wanted to pursue it. The thing was, Chevrolet was running the show back then, and I didn't know how I was going to cut into Chevrolet. But I got a question for all you graduates that are going to be graduating here in the next month. How many of you really even know what you're going to do right now? Raise your hand if you know if you're going to nursing, doctoring, whatever, a lawyer, a cop. Quite a few of you do. That's pretty good. All right. How many of you knew when you were 10 years old what you maybe wanted to do? Any of you raise your hand then when you were 10? There we go. We got one back there in the corner. Well, I want to tell you, I knew what I wanted to do at 10. I started volunteering at the Soapbox Derby at 10, and then my dad wouldn't let me race at 11. So then, like they said, I was lucky enough I got to substitute and all. But the time I hit 20, I started working out there, volunteering a little bit more. And then they finally thought, the guy's never going to go away. We might as well hire him some. So they hired me part-time in 22. And then when I turned 23, we got the big new sponsor, and they hired me for the next 35 years. I never made a lot of money. I didn't care. I got to work for the Soapbox Derby. That was my goal in life. That's all I ever cared about. And it wasn't meeting celebrities. We had super famous people. We had Vice Presidents of the United States. We had the Bonanza. We had Bewitched, all those different shows. But it was just working there and going down the hill and doing that stuff. I got to travel all over the United States and meet people. Any of you heard of Jack Kemp? He ran for vice president in 96. I was very good friends with his brother. His brother was the Derby champ in 54. I saw him in Boston, and I saw him in Long Beach, California, both places that I did. And I got to do a lot of different things that a lot of kids wouldn't get to do. We ran a race one time in Manhattan, right in the middle of New York City. I got to take a Derby car down Manhattan on 11th Avenue, and then we announced this race. We had this race, and Mario Andretti, which was an Indy 500 champ and quite well into racing and still is at 80-some years old, that he and I announced the race. And that was a big honor even, And I sure didn't make a lot. I didn't get to drive a Cadillac or anything. Heck, I barely could drive a Chevy. But, it was such a neat thing. And when I did get to go to New York a few times, I was lucky enough I got to be on television a couple. And my biggest ego trip of all was I was lucky enough to be on the Today Show. Now, how many people get to be on the Today Show? It was a very big honor. I got to tell you a little story, though. I had 2 guys that I said, you guys want me to get your name on that show? Well, yeah. I said, well, give me $20 each. So then I made a big banner that said, hi, Bob and Harrison. And I paid this kid $10, and he held the sign for 2 hours, and Harrison and Bob got on TV 4 times. Hey, I made off on it. They were happy. They got to go tell their family they were on TV, that they got to sign that thing with the fence that they're still using on that show now. And that was about 22 years ago. I was lucky enough to do that. But, it's just a very, very big honor to get this award. And I'm so lucky that a lot of my classmates came that I've hung around with for years. And they came today. And some of my friends, and, of course, my relatives and my good friends, the mayor, both of them and all. And, of course, I'm not allowed to leave this podium till I acknowledge the #1 person in this city. He's already got some big publicity by a certain little guy sitting in the front row here. But we had a vote one time, and the 4 most famous people in the city of Cuyahoga Falls, and Kenny King won by a landslide. Kenny, stand up and just wave to everybody. There he is, right there, 81 years old. He thinks he's a lifeguard. He thinks he's a cop. He thinks he's the mayor's deputy. He does it all. He's amazing. I hope that I have that much energy when I'm 81 years old. But I'd sure like to thank everybody and thank the alumni board. They're so great of you guys picking me on this. And I hope that I can pay back the city some more and pay back and be on the alumni committee next. That's my next goal and all. And you guys take care. And if you have any questions, give me a call. You see me all over town. You just look for Kenny. You'll see me somewhere there. Thank you very much, and it's been a great day. How'd I do? Was I okay? Was I too long? Where's my cane?
Thank you, Jeff, so much. As a former Preston pioneer, I appreciated your